Dan Schultz, Steve Bannon, War Room, John Frederick's Radio Network, WMLB, AM 1690, Freedom in Atlanta. It's all working together, and the tremendous success that we had on Saturday is stunning. We have all these new people who have gotten involved in the party at the grassroots level, just like Dan Schultz said. The majority of these never called into a radio show, didn't have any idea what was going on, would never dream of going one of these committee meetings. And it came into fruition on Saturday in the past 2 weeks. There were 14 counties in Georgia that passed resolutions to censor Brian Kemp, Cosmo Mann, Jeff Duncan, Brad Raffensperger. There were another 7 counties that censored Cosmo Mann and Raffensperger only. But the biggest thing is the number of victories at the leadership level, stunning victories. Sally Grubbs winning Cobb County, taking over there. Pro-Trump, pro-America First. Daniel Wiley winning in a landslide.
Congratulations and celebrations, and I tell everyone that you're in love with me. Congratulations and jubilations. I want the world to know I'm happy as can be. You would believe that I could be happy and content.
How really important the precinct, I've gotten to where I call it just precinct officer, especially here in Georgia. I myself, when I first went in, I said, I want to be a precinct committeeman. And everybody looked at me like I had a hole in my head. First of all, because we don't use the word committeeman, but second of all, because they saw no value in the position. And that really is what drove me, is that lack of value that I saw. But as Jim was stating, back in January, I started feeling this inkling of I need to do something. I'm not on any social media. I despise social media. I got off social media years ago, and so I'm not a keyboard warrior. I don't get on there and start trying to spread the good political message on social media or anything like that. I pretty much, if I need to talk to you or get a message to you, I call you. I'm the very most old-fashioned young person you'll ever meet. But I knew I needed to get involved and do something. I just didn't know how. And so I had been watching some great quality shows. I mean, great. I loved watching Ben Shapiro. I loved watching, Michael Knowles. I enjoyed every once in a while the Steven Crowder show. These are people that brought up great things, great things to think about, but never anything to actually do. It just gave you more stuff to be upset about. And so finally I got turned on to that crazy Steve Bannon guy, who I'd always heard he was just a nut, but I started watching him. I said, he's actually giving us stuff to do. And so at that point I started buying books. I'm just reading book after book after book. I'm just digging into stuff. And then they had Dan Schultz come on. And Dan Schultz, he got up and he started talking about the Precinct Committeeman. And I didn't really understand it at first, but I tell you, he gives you those glaring eyes right into the TV, and you're afraid to look away. And his words bear right into your soul. And those memes he comes up with. He showed that one meme where it showed a line of people waiting to go into their local GOP meeting. And we have local GOP meetings? There's a Republican Party in my county? I didn't know this. I've lived here for 30 years, or more than 30 years. No one's ever told me. No one's invited me. No one's done anything like that. So let me figure out where. So Dan said, you need to contact your chairman. Get on the website. So I got on the website. Turns out the contact information was wrong. Nobody would reply to my emails. So I said, well, there's a location where they have meetings. Turns out the location for the meeting was wrong. That's where the Democrats meet now. So the Republican Party website was sending people to the Democrat Party meeting. There was a lot of disorganization. Finally, I got a friend of mine who was able to get me a phone number of somebody to talk to get involved. And so I found out where the meeting was. I showed up. We had a state senator there talking about election integrity. And I left that meeting and I thought, I still didn't really know what I could do. I had some big ideas, but I really didn't know anything. So here in Georgia, we have every other year we have the caucus system. So we had our precinct caucus, and I knew that's where I go to get signed up as a precinct chairman or a precinct officer of any kind. And so that's what I'm going to do. So I came there ready with a speech, ready to fight to be the precinct chair of my voting precinct. And so everybody got in there, and there was a pretty large crowd. And someone had asked, what is a precinct chair? And one of the county leaders at that time said, it means nothing. It's just a title. Just put the name down. And at that point, I realized I can't just be a precinct chair. They don't see that this is the most important political office in the system. So at that point, I with some encouragement of a friend of mine, I said, okay, since I did what Dan said, I got into the rule book. So I've never read political rules before, but I dug through the Georgia Republican Party rules, and I understood how the system worked. And then I saw these people don't go by the rules. And if I hold them accountable to the rules, I can take over this whole thing in the next 30 days. And people laughed at it. I mean, I was making phone calls to the people who were going to be at the next meeting. Those were the delegates. And they were laughing at me. Like, what are you doing? Calling voters? Talking to the people who are going to vote? Like, that makes any difference at all? I actually had experienced politicians in our county just laughing right in my face for doing that work. And so when it came down to the county convention where we elected county officials, they actually threw up some parliamentary hurdles to try to actually stop any nominations from the floor. And that was overcome. And we did nominations from the floor, and I won by a majority of more than 90%. It was outrageous. And we actually flipped. There's not a single person who was on the board that is now on the board. And in fact, we had a former district chairman who was there at the meeting, and he tried to stop things. He was so flipped out. He said, I don't know if you've realized what you've done. And he couldn't finish the sentence. He's like, nothing like this has ever happened in county history. And I'm like, well, okay, well, something needed to happen. And so at that point now, so I say all that, not to say I did anything great. All I did was I read the rules. All I did was say, I want to do something that I've never done before. And now I find myself having zero political experience. I feel like I'm flying by the seat of my pants, but the fact that I've read the rules, the fact that I found a precinct chair handbook from Texas and was able to adapt it to make it the new Douglas County, Georgia precinct chair handbook. Now I'm able to hand this out to all the precinct officers that we do have. So I know that we can get them trained so that we can implement the precinct strategy. And I tell you, that was the one thing. My 2-minute stump speech was just about, I want to take power away from the county level and invest it in the precincts. I want to be the least important political person in this county. I want the precinct chairs to realize their true political power. And I want to be the chief, get me a little name badge, chief precinct officer support person. That's what I want to do, because my goal is to serve one term as the county chairman and then take the truly powerful position of a precinct chair in my voting precinct. and we're making great progress. That's exactly what we're going to do. But my entire pitch was empower the precincts, and that resonated with the people of our county, and they showed up for support. And I tell you, we've got in the little bit of time that I've had, I've been I've been the county chairman for 2 weeks now. The little bit of time that we've had, I've got before we've even done any training, just through my pretty little stump speech, I've got precinct chairs who are canvassing neighborhoods on their own, who I'm getting text messages all the time from people who are just amazed at voters who are saying, "Oh my goodness, I'm so glad that I didn't know what was going on in the county. This is the first time anyone has ever come and reached out to me." And it's an invigorating experience. And so I'm so thrilled by the energy. But more than anything, all I'm here to say is don't tell yourself no. The biggest obstacle we all face when we realize there's a challenge is we are the first person to talk ourselves out of tackling the challenge, out of doing something challenging. And I don't want you to tell yourself no, and don't let anyone else tell you no, because I tell you, the precinct strategy is just like Dan says, it's 7th grade civics, but it's something that, like Jim was saying earlier, he had been in politics for many years and did not realize how politics actually worked. And this is the pure essence of how politics works. And just like I was able to come in, they thought I was crazy, but I was just following the rules. I used how the political system actually works against the people who thought they were going to be in power for years to come. I unseated people who had been in political power in my county for more than 4 decades. And now they're just scratching their heads trying to figure out what happened. They don't know what happened, and they're mad as hornets. But I'm not going to let that stop us from moving forward. We're going to go forward. We're going to recruit precinct chairs. We're going to make sure every single position is filled, and we're going to make sure, what I'm saying, we're going to launch the biggest get out the vote effort in Douglas County history, maybe in West Georgia history. We're going to get face-to-face contact with every single Republican voter, because that's exactly what we've got to do. Politics is local. And we've got a big challenge in Douglas County. I've got to flip. We only have we have 2 Republican elected officials on the county level. And that's the man who runs our dump and 1 county commissioner. That's it. I don't even think our dog catcher is a Republican. So we've got a lot of work to do, but I know the Democrats, they're not in power. They're not doing the precinct strategy. They're relying on T-shirts and yard signs and things like that, and mail outs. I get 15 mail outs a day from the Democrats, it seems. But we're going to have that face-to-face contact, and we're going to do great things. And I'm going to be talking to a lot of people and say, don't be afraid to do something you've never done before, because it won't take a lot of work. And that's the beautiful thing about how politics really works in America. If you go in and you say, I'm going to do something, and I'm just going to find 3 or 4 other people that are just as passionate as I am that want to do something, then you've got all the people you need right there to do something amazing in your precinct. 4 or 5 people. That's all it takes. And you'll have more. You'll have more than that. But you'll be amazed. So don't tell yourself no. That's the biggest thing I have right now. Do not tell yourself no. Get ready for a fight, because you're going to get in there. They may not want you in there as a precinct chair. They may be really comfortable with how things work right now. They don't want to see change. But be patient and be ready to get in and just follow the rules, do what they say, and take the political power. And you can do it, and you can do great things. And really, that's all I've got. Thank you so much for your time.
And Daniel, let me ask you a few quick questions about
Sure.
how many precincts are there in Douglas County, roughly?
We have a population of about 118,000, I believe. We have 25 voting precincts.
Okay, now, did you win over the people that were already in there, or did you bring new people into the system that voted? How did you win?
Jim, I'm so glad you asked that. I meant to bring this up.
Yeah.
If the system is working correctly, you should not be able to come in from the complete outside, having no political experience, and take over your county GOP in 60 days. That should be impossible. And it was only possible because there weren't people from the precinct showing up. So I essentially got all the people I needed by creating a few YouTube videos. I had to create a YouTube account to do it. Like I said, I'm not really on social media. Creating a few YouTube videos and giving them to my mother, who was a Facebook warrior, and say, Mama, will you send these out to the people you know on Facebook? And I'll text message the link to people that I know. And she got her Sunday school class out there. We got a few friends of mine out there and some friends and neighbors, and that's all it took. And also, and here's something else you need to realize. If your GOP isn't being run effectively, if things aren't right there, what I found is there was a beautiful, wonderful county Republican women's club. And these people were passionate, but they would not be involved in the local GOP because they weren't doing anything. They were not politically active. And these women wanted to get something done. And so I was able to get in and speak to some of those ladies, and they showed up big time for me. And that's all it was. A few friends and family. It's a numbers game. Like Dan Schultz always says, it's a numbers game. You just got to get the numbers. And so for some people, it'll be a little more difficult than others.